for news that's short, sharp and shrewd.
Are you talking about the podcast or me?
Both.
Backhanded compliment.
This is Up Late with Ben Harvey. Party poopers at Canning Vale.
Canning Vale College cancelled its school ball, said it couldn't guarantee the safety of kids if they went to the event at Optus Stadium because of COVID.
So these are the same kids that go to school with each other every day.
More to the point, these teenagers have survived Canning Vale High School. They go to class down the road from Hakea Prison and next door to Gosnells. COVID's the least of their problems. School principals had a crack at McGowan, said the government advice was contradictory.
The students started a petition.
And they won. The ball's back on. The school backflipped. Which means they haven't blown their first home deposit on limos and gowns they couldn't use.
They wouldn't have been the only ones all dressed up with nowhere to go either.
Jack Darling, what are you doing? He's clearly expecting to play. You don't flog yourself alone in 40-degree heat unless you're planning to get back on the field. But we know he can't get back on the field without proof of vaccination, which so far he's failed to produce. The smart money is he's waiting for Novavax to be rolled out. That happens on February 21.
There'll be a lot of sorry Eagles fans if he doesn't make round
There
one.
are sorry people everywhere at the moment. The Parliament of Australia has formally apologised to the many victims of sexual assault, harassment and bullying in Canberra.
We say sorry. Every workplace should be safe and respectful.
That was Speaker of the House Andrew Wallace, whose statement was closely followed by a speech by the Prime Minister.
I rise to enthusiastically support this acknowledgement.
Scott Morrison's hoping this draws a line under the issue, at least until after the election. And to that end, he wasn't leaving anything on the field. 6 months ago, sorry was the hardest word for this guy to say.
Can you just, you know what, can you just say sorry, Jace? It'll make me feel so much better and then I feel like
What we're doing is fixing the problems and getting on with it.
Now he can't say it enough.
I am sorry. We are sorry. I'm sorry to Ms Higgins, but I'm sorry for far more than that.
But still not enough to win over Grace Tame.
Apology not accepted, moron.
Grace immediately branded the historic apology a stunt, something she would be able to recognise.
In your opinion?
She tweeted, "How about some proactive, preventative measures and not just these performative, last-minute Band-Aid electioneering stunts?"
The Liberals are in the mood to apologise.
WA Libs sure are. They've been locked in a legal stare-down with their frenemy Nick Goiran, and the party just blinked. The Conservative power broker got the hump last year after the party released the results of an investigation into the influence wielded by a small group of players who called themselves the Clan.
Who controls the British crown? Who keeps the metric system down?
As we know, Clan members had their own WhatsApp group, from which about 1 million messages were leaked to the press last year. The born-to-rule arrogance and misogyny, which had previously been a prerequisite for Liberal pre-selection, was suddenly grounds for dismissal. Former party president Danielle Blaine and criminal lawyer Mark Trowell investigated the Clan and detailed their juicy findings of odious behaviour in a big fat report. Goiran believed the report was defamatory of him, and last September he lawyered up. The Libs then crapped themselves and are now trying to pretend key parts of that report don't exist.
So a political party that's trying to prove it's not beholden to Nick Goiran
has bent over and agreed to his demand not to say bad things about him.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, don't hurt me, sorry.
Here's the stupid thing about all this. Trowell and Blaine didn't name names in the original report, but a few days later they released an addendum which did. The addendum said the pair had confirmed the authenticity of those WhatsApp messages. This odious behaviour has shamed the Liberal Party and trashed its reputation. It is contrary to Liberal Party principles and values. It is not who we are or who we want to be, it stated. Goiran's lawyer said the imputations contained in the addendum were totally false, without basis, and constitute serious defamation.
This from a guy who bragged about branch stacking.
Goiran wanted the material removed from the internet, and the Libs have just agreed to. WA Liberal Party President Richard Wilson sent a message to members justifying the decision to bow down to Nick, and the West State political reporter Peter Law had got hold of that email. Wilson said the addendum was issued after the conclusion of the review panel's tenure and therefore does not form part of the review.
That sounds like
complete and utter bullshit. That's 'cause it is. Wilson has concocted this excuse to save face. It's irrelevant whether defamatory material was in the original report or an addendum or spray painted on a building. It's still defamatory. Party members should refrain from making any reference to it, he said in a reference to the addendum.
I have to tell someone.
So, nothing to see here, folks.
There's a bit of that going around. I reckon the average journal at the West Australian writes 600 or 700 stories a year.
You'd know. You're a very average journo.
My point is, sometimes we forget to follow up the outcome of a particular report. 2 years ago, we published a story about a guy called Richard Elderfield. Elderfield was a Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Corrective Services. That was until the Corrective Services Professional Standards Unit, who are known as the Men in Black, started looking at an HR issue involving him.
What did he do?
Well, the government of Western Australia has been very open and transparent about this whole thing. At the time, the Public Sector Commission said it does not comment on individual matters it may receive or consider in relation to public authorities. The Department of Justice says it is not appropriate for the Department of Justice to comment. The Corrective Services Minister, who at the time was Fran Logan, said internal departmental staffing matters are not within a minister's remit.
Typical. What do you think he did?
Well, from what I was told, Elderfield we have no idea what happened next, except he resigned. So the lawyers will probably make us bleep all that other stuff out.
Already done.
Get this, Elderfield stood down on full pay, $180,000 a year plus super plus a company car in May 2020. He wasn't kicked off the payroll until January 25, 2022.
So that's 20 months.
Full pay, a near 2-year holiday courtesy of the generous taxpayers of Western Australia. When he was stood down, they put a former copper named Gary Budge in his place. But Budgie, as he's known, was soon seconded to COVID duties. So then they put on a woman called Kama Connolly. 3 people to do one job. Welcome to the WA Public Service. No wonder the COVID response is turning into a shit show.
And more drama for the Premier.
Death threats and suspicious powder delivered to his office. It's not the first time white powder has been delivered to an address in Rocco.
You've slagged Canning Vale, Rockingham and Canberra. You're going to have to say sorry next.
Only if the lawyers make me. And I still won't mean it.
Sorry seems to be
I'm Ben Harvey.
honest word.
If you'd like to watch Up Late with me, Ben Harvey, search for The West Australian on YouTube.